Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Swedish tier 9 tech tree medium tank, the UDES 16. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the UDES 16, it is not the greatest tier 9 medium tank in the universe, in the tech tree, but it's a tank that I very much got on with. It's just one of those tanks that I've always clicked with, it surprised me, to be honest. Once you get past the stock grind can be a bit iffy, although it's quite nice when you fire premium because the shell velocity is amazing. But once you get past the stock grind, it's really not too bad. And it did surprise me because the UDES 14 Alt 5, the tier 8, was a bit of a pain, and especially when I ground through it back in the day when it first came out, it was even more pain because the Bobble on the hydro pneumatic suspension was horrific. Now, it still can be a bit of a pain, but it's one of those that you feel like with the UDES 16, UDES 14 Alt 5, and the UDES 15-16, that these tanks were designed with that in mind a little bit. So it's a little bit easier to manage on this vehicle than it is on something like the STB1, for example, which the Bobble is just awful. It feels awful with the terrible gun handling and stuff like that. But it doesn't feel too horrific with the UDES 15 and the UDES 16, right? It's the tank that I did very much enjoy. It's not got the best penetration in the universe for a tier 9 medium. It's not got the best mobility in the universe for a tier 9 medium. It's got very good camo with good view range. But there's not a lot that goes for it, generally. And I know that it generally isn't the best tier 9 medium tank in the universe, and it's a bit of a struggle, but on the whole, it can still have a nice game. And it's definitely one that you really have to get used to get the best out of it, and just learn the little nuances of this vehicle. So with the UDES 16, it's got a 50 km/h top speed with a 20 km/h reverse speed, 590 horsepower engine, which is 21.07 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you will get up to that 50 top speed quite easily. You've got 46 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which means it does turn its tracks pretty quickly. Ground resistances don't really hold the tank back too much. 268 meters of steel concealment, which is absolutely fantastic for this vehicle. It is a super stealthy support tank, which is where it wants to be, with 279 meters of on-the-move concealment, which is pretty damn good again for a medium tank like this. 499 meters of view range is very, very good. It helps it spot for itself very, very easily. And again, with the fantastic camo, it means you can outspot so many vehicles, and then you can just start putting the hurt into them. You've got 40.18 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed, which is slower than the tracks, so bear that in mind. With a 1.03 accuracy during rotation, mixed with a 2.57 accuracy during movement, which is really not very good. It means the aim circle blooms out massively. You're seeing that right now. You're seeing that in this game, how big that aim circle becomes. But you do have a 2.03 second aim time, though, which means it does aim in pretty quickly, but the aim circle is rather large. It's something you just got to bear in mind, and that's where I say you do really get used to this vehicle. You get used to how the gun handling feels, you get used to how the tank wants to be playing, you get used to the positions that you can really use in this tank. It's one of those tanks that you just got to get the nuances of it. You got 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters, which is also fairly accurate, which can be quite good for the vehicle, but make sure you get this vehicle fully aimed, and make sure you're kind of stationary to make sure that the hydro pneumatic suspension isn't bobbling all too much. And most of the time, you'll notice a bobble when you look over the left and right of the tank, as that's where the hydro pneumatic suspension ends up activating itself. What happened with the C100, by the way? I feel like he just went, I give up. But there we go. We've got 12 degrees of gun depression when we use the hydro pneumatic suspension. If you look down towards the ground, you'll get the most out of the gun depression, which means, like I say, it can be a bit awkward to use at times. We also have 21 degrees of elevation, which is absolutely fantastic for this vehicle. 8.24 second reload is 2.8k DPM, which again is not the best, it's not the worst, it's okay, but you're not going to be winning any awards for your DPM. 234 penetration on the standard APCR is also not the greatest, but it's also not the worst. There's quite a few tier 9 mediums that had lower than that, but quite a few have been buffed up to have more than that nowadays, so it's more of a... Back when the T54 and the M46 pattern and stuff like that had 220 to 218 pen, or 203mm of penetration if you're talking about the old T54. 234 was actually not too bad, but these days, after they've been buffed so much, yeah, it's a little bit low on the lower end. 263 penetration on the premium APCR is pretty decent, though. You'll go through most vehicles except for the super heavily armoured vehicles like Type 5s, Mouses, E100s too easily, etc., without having to hit the sides. You've got 390 damage on those rounds, which is quite nice, with 53mm of penetration on the HE, which is 480 damage. 1,150 meters a second shell velocity on the standard and premium APCR. Again, it's pretty slow for APCR, but as a shell velocity, it's really not too bad. And it means you don't have to give too much lead at distance, but it's only 150 over average, so it's still, you do have to give a little bit of lead. But on the whole, like I say, this tank, in terms of those stats that I've just listed out, it's not the best tank in the universe, but on the whole, you can still have a pretty good game with it, and I just really did click with this tank and how it handles in general. And I've had some pretty damn tasty games, which is what you're seeing in these two replays. So we're up to 5.6k damage so far with 2 kills. There's 1 tank left. The T-54E1's tried to make an escape down the hillside, and sadly for him, the escape didn't go too well. I've done that one myself. It doesn't go well. We finished the game with that first class, the high caliber, with the 1606 base XP. A nice game there for the UDES 16. I'm not the best map in the universe for it, in a very, very tier 10 lobby there for the Swedish tier 9 medium tank. So what do I run in terms of accruing equipment to get those statistics on this vehicle? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Muffled Shot, the Advanced Loader, the Camo Net, and Optics. Optics to be able to get the 499 meters of view range, the Camo Net to get down to that 268 meters of still concealment, same as the Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving to get that fantastic on the move concealment, and then Muffled Shot to reduce the effect of firing on my camo, as this tank is a super duper stealthy medium tank that I like to abuse how good the camo is on this tank. So that, again, the less time I'm spotted, the less chance people have to shoot at me, the more damage I can get off without losing my HP. And the Steady Aim to make the best of the accuracy on this vehicle, as you always want to do with most vehicles. And then Run and Gun, just to try and get the accuracy of your own movement down as low as possible. And especially since we're not running the gun stabilizer, it just helps to get this aim circle as low as possible in that regard, as it still is rather large. And because of the way that the tank plays, I just feel like I get more out of making the concealment way better than I do running the gun stabilizer to make the gun in general better. So as you can see, the second game, I should say, we're on the second game of 2 replays, and we are on this map, which is Redshire. And on Redshire, we're up to 741 damage so far with 619 assistance, and we're in that perfect sniper position for assault that we want to be in, which is just waiting for people to get spotted on the JK line and then firing where and when we can to keep the DPM flowing and, well, the mediocre DPM flowing on this vehicle, and just try and dissuade the enemy team from pushing up the 1-2 towards our cap. But we have noticed that there is still a lot of tanks alive. There was 2 or 3 tanks spotted in that K12 corner, but there's also quite a few tanks coming for us from their heavy tank line along the 9-0. So we're into that Redshire camp that can happen, where we are stuck here, and we're waiting for the enemy team to push out of their locations so that we can just try and sort them out. And you can see the heavy tank that's spotted is currently just out of render range. It's a 50 TP. I see that guy with my standard round. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to pen that with the standard. We went for the shot into the GST term, but sadly, the shot just went, yeah, I could pen that, or I could just miss by a country mile. And it's thanks UDES 16 gun. That's what I'm talking about with the UDES 16 gun, with it being a bit derpy. Even though you got pretty good accuracy, it can do that quite easily and just miss shots that you sit there going, but really, did you have to miss that? We managed to shut down the 50 TP, though he gave us this side. We can't quite see a shot into the TS5. The TD gets spotted behind us at G1. I was going to look at that, but then a 59 pattern's just going across the middle of the open, so we don't want that guy to keep progressing. He's in a perfect spot for me to shoot. If he keeps progressing, there's going to be a time when he's going to end up spotting me, and I'm going to get shot by people like that SMVCC-67. The SMVC-67 is, well, he's out in the open, so we go for the track and pen there. We get the pen, but he gets unspotted. We get a little bit of assistance there, and I think the 59 pattern, we're going to hope that that guy's still there. And in fact, he gets spotted, so we put another shot through the side of the Contracaro 67. Not quite sure what that guy's doing, because he is giving me very easy shots, and you can see this is where the camo is nice on this vehicle, that we've not been spotted yet. We finally get spotted because he's actually got close enough and there's no concealment between us, but he's lost pretty much most of his hit points. We're up to 3k damage with 897 assistance. Put a shot through the side of the T-54 there, which tracked and penned him, and now we've stopped focusing on one side, we can go focus on the other. So the T114 battalion looks like he was going to drive around the corner on that rock, so we decided to take the blind fire there in case he does drive around, but he doesn't. T-54 ends up spotting as the battalion is looking around the corner, so he gets a shot into us. We try and get the shot into that guy, but it doesn't work, and that position was untenable. Why? Medium tank. That 59 pattern came up behind us. We could have been shot quite easily from the T-54 and the T-114 battalion, which is what was happening, that we just could not stay in that position, so we had to take the chance to get out of dodge and get ourselves safe. We put a shot into the 59 pattern side there. He YOLOs out in front of our team and gets finished off, hoping that we get the reload to shut down the T-54, but sadly we don't quite find it. He YOLOs out into the open though. Thank you very much, sir. And we finish off the T-54 there, putting us on 3.8k damage with 2 kills and 1,072 assistance. But it's all about map awareness. We saw the medium tank coming up behind us. The fact that there's possibly an SMV CC-67 as well coming round. And the fact that we could get shot by both the T-114 battalion and the T-54. We were stuck in an awful crossfire. I didn't want to stay there. I knew where all the tanks were on that position. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take the chance where I could take a hit or two. But if I take a hit or two and get left on half health, I'm still going to be alive and not stuck in an awful position. And that's where we took the most of that. So we're up to 4,200 damage with 1,072 assistance. Looking for possibly the kill shot there on the T-114 battalion. And we bounce. We bounce on the tank with very little armor, which is typical. That's where RNG goes, huh, lol, no. You can see us fighting the hydro pneumatic suspension there on this ridgeline. This is ideally where this tank wants to be, using 12 degrees under pressure, using the hydro pneumatic suspension. But it's where you can have the effect of having that gun bobble, which can be a bit frustrating at times for the UDES 16. You've got to be careful of. Where, yeah, you just end up having a bit of a time trying to make sure this gun stabilizes. And that's where I say be careful when you're shooting over the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the tracks, as the pneumatic suspension can reset itself a little bit over that, because the action that you get out of the gun depression with the hydro pneumatic suspension is by aiming down when you're aiming over the front of the vehicle. So when you stop aiming down over the front of the vehicle, that's where the hydro pneumatic suspension can reset itself a little bit and cause the gun to go whoop. And if you pull the trigger at that unfortunate moment, you will end up missing your shot. I'll say, it used to be way worse when this tank first, well, this tank line first came out. It's a lot better now, but it can still be a bit of pain at times. And that's where I say you just got to get used to it. So we've loaded HE. Why? Artillery. 5.53 and a fire on that guy. Beautiful scenes. We find the GW Tiger Pig as well. Aim it up. 460 into that, guys. We do have that 480 average damage, and naturally HE does more module damage, so you increase your chance of doing fires like that. Run out of HE this time though, so we finish off the GW Tiger Pig with a shot. We get him as the Pascucci's medal. We see the Object 430 version 2, and I thought he might drive out and give us a shot there to secure the kill on that guy, but we can't quite find it. But then, yeah, he does. And we finish off the Soviet Tier 9 medium tank, and now we can go progress, go find out where that Batchat 15558 is. Get a Dimitrius? It'd be nice to get a Dimitrius. It's always great to kill both piggies in a game. But the 60 TP finishes them off. There's the Canonian Jagdpanzer 3 GST term. We get a shot through the side of the GST term. And at this angle, we can, with the 263 penetration, pen him. But he gets unspotted just as we take the shot, which meant that we actually hit the front of that guy. But now he's turning to face the tank that's coming in behind him. Can we get the kill? Oh, just sadly not, as the 60 TP shuts him down. But finished the game with a really nice total there for the UDES 16. Finished with the victory. And then we've come top on the team with 4 kills, 6.3k damage, 2005 base XP for that 7.8k combined. With the ace tank of the Pascucci's, the Confederate, the high caliber, and yeah, that really, really nice total of 2005 base XP. For a tank that, like I say, it's not a very good, well, it's not the best tier 9 medium tank in the universe, but it's a tank that I very much just get on with and I very much enjoy. Once you get used to that hydro pneumatic suspension, you can have a pretty decent time with it. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success.